All right.
Oh, Gary's not going to be pleased.
Why is that?
He said, and I agree. He said that green shit sucks.
I don't know, why am I not hearing Trump here? I can go to, here it is. See? Where the fuck?
So is there any way to get that green shit out?
What green shit?
There's a green square around it, a rectangle around it that says "Divided We Stand," and it cuts into the picture.
Yeah,
you don't see it on yours?
Well, I don't see it. You don't.
Yeah, because it doesn't. It's on mine. It was on Gar's, so I guess I don't know if maybe you can't see it. I don't know. Oh, he also says you have to be on the left and I have to be on the right.
The green border you want out?
Yeah, that's terrible, Bri.
I could get a different board, but not now.
Cuts your heads. I mean, it cuts. Yeah, go on. Good.
Okay, let me.
That's fine.
Let me see if I can get the volume up on his shit. I don't know why it's not coming up. Let me see.
Well, it's good to try it. Trying something anyway.
Why it's not coming up?
Maybe he's not saying anything.
Yeah. No, he's saying something. I just know why it's not. Fuck.
Yeah, while you're trying to figure that out, you have a new neighbor.
My Devin moving in?
Devin's moving in. Yeah, he got the house.
Is he going to behave himself?
No, he's going to have wild parties there.
Yeah, I can imagine. He's going to ruin the whole neighborhood. Yeah. Let me see.
He's going to direct them right at you. Because I said, you don't do anything. You just, you don't even have a fucking job.
Let me see. Now, you're on now. I mean, we're on now. I don't know why this isn't coming up. I'm going to do an overlay again here and just see what happens.
So ABC is airing him, huh?
Yeah.
We pay the lowest price under my most
There we go. You can hear
favored nations policy.
Yeah. You make it
because
bigger?
I was able to get the
Yeah,
rest of
definitely.
the world and the pharmaceutical companies to act responsibly.
Tell me if it
Drug
doesn't.
prices are coming
can still
down
hear it?
by 70, 80, and 90%.
Can you hear it?
Here, but you can't see.
TRUMP'Rx.gov.
All right, we'll see it in a second.
This will ultimately reduce the cost of health care. You have to go to TRUMP'Rx.gov and take advantage of it. But the cost of health care is coming way down because of what we've done with prescription drugs. And with Trump accounts, every child in America now has access to a tax-free investment account to save for their future. Billions and billions of dollars are being invested, put in by companies and individuals to take care of our children so that at age 18 they will have potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in their account, and they'll get off to a great start in life.
Let me see if I can do something here.
So for that, go to
How's that?
TrumpAccounts.gov and
Now, if you
sign
can only
up
make it bigger.
your child or any
Okay.
child who'd like to sign up. Our previously wide open borders have been transformed into the most secure borders in the history of our country, with 0 illegal aliens being admitted to the United States in the past 14 months. That is 0. Nobody thought it was possible. We had the worst border in the history of our country, and now we have the best. Crime is plummeting nationwide, with the murder rate at its lowest level since 1900, or more than 125 years ago. We're making a record investment in our armed forces, and we have the strongest and most powerful military by far anywhere in the world. I built it during my first term, and unfortunately, we're forced to use it now. We won in Venezuela, which is now working with us to produce millions and millions of barrels of oil. We are likewise winning big in Iran, and you will see the fruits of that labor very, very shortly. America is back and doing really well, but we still have a major challenge that must be urgently addressed, because no country can be great without fair and honest elections. You have to trust your country, because if there can be no trust, there can be no greatness. And that's very simple. No trust, no greatness. For many years, I've called for bold, swift, and decisive action to protect the integrity of America's elections. Every American deserves to know that when they cast their vote, that vote will be counted accurately in a system, and that is to make that system secure, one where cheating and interference are not just difficult, but virtually impossible. Unfortunately, the system we have today falls catastrophically short of that standard. Tonight, I'm announcing the immediate declassification and release of critical intelligence revealing shocking vulnerabilities in our election infrastructure. This evidence shows that the election system we have dangerously exposes, and really exposes like levels never thought possible, to hacking, exploitation, and foreign
Russia.
interference. Just as disturbingly, this vital information has for many years been covered up
Sounds
and
like Mike
hidden
Lindell.
from you, the American people, our beautiful, our great American people. But that all changes right now. The documents we will release starting tonight have been gathered by the White House Government Transparency Task Force, a great group of people, along with the staff of the President's Intelligence Advisory Board, supported by our top intelligence agency chiefs, who have all personally reviewed the findings. We are presenting this evening and fully confirmed their authenticity. You can see these documents for yourself at whitehouse.gov.
That's where we're watching, folks. It's only because of copyright strikes. This is the only place to go.
Our purpose in disclosing this information is
put it
not to
from
weaken
ABC or
confidence in
NBC.
election, but to earn that confidence by confronting vulnerabilities and correcting them very, very quickly. And that's what we're doing. The documents cover 5 major areas of concern. First, they show that over a period of years, starting during the 2020 election cycle, the People's Republic of China carried out what is believed to be the largest compromise of election data in history, resulting in China's illicit acquisition of 220 million U.S. voter files. That information includes names, addresses, phone numbers, political party preferences, and other sensitive data that would be needed to register to vote and engage in other nefarious activities, which is exactly what was happening. This data loss presents an unprecedented election security nightmare. The intelligence even shows that China assigned a data exploitation unit specifically to this new project. Compounding the travesty, the second set of documents we are releasing reveals that members of the deep state, very, very famous group of people in many cases, in our intelligence agency work to actively suppress and downplay information about the extent of China's sinister election meddling.
Like China's going to like this.
Covering it up from both the president and the American people like nobody thought was possible. U.S. spy agencies began learning about the compromise of voter registration files in 2020 when they discovered that tens of millions of voter data, think of that.
Yeah, bring it to court. You did, and you lost.
Millions of voters' data in 18 states have been bought,
Dave, you jotting down notes again?
stolen, or hacked by China. Yet those responsible for sounding the alarm instead kept the information secret and hidden. They did not disclose to me as president or to anyone else, and to the best of our knowledge, they did not inform Congress. In fact, all they kept saying is, this is the most secure election in the history of our country. A standard, very pat line that was divvied out to say. The cover-up of this colossal security breach is even more disturbing in light of the additional information showing that China engaged in other election-related activities to undermine my
China,
first
yeah,
administration and our 2020
He
campaign.
says China.
They did not want, and they just didn't want it. They fought like hell not to have it, Donald Trump, to win, and for good reason. As the documents we are releasing show, CIA reporting explicitly stated, and I quote, in mid-2018, the Chinese Communist Party's policy was to leverage all domestic and foreign elements that were opposed to the U.S. president in an effort to reduce the U.S. president's votes and make him resign or prevent his re-election. Isn't that nice? Also, in mid-2018, China was working to influence the results of the U.S. midterm elections and later the results of the 2020 presidential election itself. Separately, in mid-2019, the Chinese government's strategy against the United States was focused on undermining
He's just reading off the
domestic
teleprompter here.
confidence
This
in
isn't
the
something
US
he can make up on his
president.
own.
They wanted to just
So-
make you sound
This is gonna be
like your
short.
president wasn't so hot, when actually your president has done a great job, and they did everything possible to do exactly that. Going on, this document says, and this is by the CIA, the strategy included efforts to use Chinese contacts with big U.S. companies to influence U.S. business leaders to turn against the President of the United States of America. The Chinese government sought to identify U.S. journalists who had reported negatively on the U.S. president and pay them large sums of money to write more negative articles about him.
come I never got any of that
As
money?
many as
Yeah.
they could, and they didn't care what they said. The Chinese government wanted U.S. president to lose the next election, and the reason they wanted me to lose is because they knew I was wise to them, charged them billions and billions of dollars worth of tariffs, and built
And
the
where are that
strongest
billions,
military
Mr.
anywhere in the world. We have the strongest military
Your pocket?
anywhere in the world. These are exact quotes from the CIA reporting. The name of the person doing the quote is now under review. But it
Doing the
gets even
quote. How do they
worse.
like
Raw
that for the English
intelligence
language?
obtained by the FBI in 2020,
Got one hell of a command.
yet buried by rogue bureaucrats, stated that China's activities even included an attempt to manufacture illegal ballots for Joe Biden. Documents show that during this period, dozens of significant CIA and NSA reports about China's election targeting were kept out of the presidential briefing. These were briefings I would get almost every day. Everything was kept out that was of
You mean the one
importance.
page is
One
the only thing
email
you
among
can't even read?
intelligence
That one,
analysts
Mr.
admitted that
Trump?
they had, quote, deliberately massaged the presidential
Massaged.
daily briefing to withhold information regarding Chinese activities related to the election. Another official inside the FBI wrote that she was running, quote, a shadow government, unquote, to keep intelligence about China's election meddling from becoming known and to keep it away from the honorable press. Other officials who witnessed such efforts perceived the motivations to be blatantly political. Recently, we found significant numbers of burn bags in formation, and this is a group of bags that
He doesn't even know
were
what it is.
used to destroy information
Sorry, folks. I can't put the comments up.
given
It's gonna
by
screw everything up on full
President
screen.
Barack Hussein Obama
We'll go over it later.
to be burned. It was supposed to be burned. These bags were supposed to be at a different level by different people, incinerated and checked, but it never happened.
He's going.
Maybe
He
we
can't
got
keep
lucky.
with this guy. He's just
We
all
believe
over the
this
place.
was not done on purpose, but rather through gross incompetence of the people that were supposed to burn the bags. But the findings are stunning. Today, I'm asking the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the Department of Justice, the FBI, and the CIA to investigate how and why such crucial information was hidden, to fire those involved in the cover-up, and to file criminal charges, if appropriate, against these people.
Witch hunt.
Yet concealing China's meddling was only the beginning. The third set of documents we are releasing proves that for many years, Americans were blatantly lied to about the security of our election infrastructure, including electronic voting machines and ballot counting systems, dishonest, almost all. They're vulnerable and they're easily compromised, and people within our government knew that. Tonight, we're publishing a series of previously classified U.S. intelligence community assessments and other reports proving that our government has long known these machines are extremely exposed to attack. As one assessment states, we judge that the United States adversaries, including at a minimum Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, as well as non-state groups, have the capability to compromise U.S. election infrastructure. That's unquote, but that's some statement, isn't it, made by supposedly great patriots of our country. The document goes on to further state that, quote, we assess that centralized election-related data repositories, such as voter registration databases, poll books, and other official election websites, are most vulnerable to exploitation, and adversaries could use this access to these systems to disrupt election processes within the United States of America. Tonight, we're releasing all of those findings, and spanning from January 2020 to June 2026. This is a cyber threat aimed at the very heart of our democracy. Many people have questioned whether it could actually be possible to electronically manipulate vote totals or change election results on these terrible machines. Today, we are releasing documents that show the CIA obtained reporting of a specific plot to do a big number in favor of the corrupt Maduro regime in Venezuela, and that's exactly what happened, conspiring to digitally rig their own country's elections in 2020, and that's what they did. This reporting included precise details about methods to regime develop to digitally alter vote totals in ways that could not be detected even with an audit, no matter how deep they went. This intelligence underscores why we must take urgent action to ensure that our own system can never, ever be hacked or compromised like it was in the past. The fourth set of documents reveals that even when significant evidence of fraud has been detected, it has been buried and covered up. Among the disclosures tonight are FBI files detailing evidence of alleged fraud by a large-scale voter registration operation in Michigan. In 2020, Michigan State Police raided a Democrat Get Out the Vote organization, corrupt group in Muskegon. And we're so concerned by what they found. They were just so concerned, they couldn't believe it actually, that they contacted the FBI in Detroit. The documents state that some canvassers admitted to FBI agents that they signed voter registration forms in other people's names, submitted fraudulent registration for people who did not exist, and received gift cards tied to their number of applications that they produced. In other words,
where's my gift card?
It was
Pardon
pay,
me?
play, and cheat. The FBI agents working on the case believe that crimes were committed, yet the Biden Department of Justice slow-walked the investigation and
Yeah,
killed
it's probably
it.
one of his people in the
Tonight,
FBI
I'm
that was just making
asking
shit up.
the FBI director to ensure that the matter is fully investigated and to work with the Department of Justice to prosecute those responsible for any crimes. Finally, to reveal just how vulnerable our elections continue to be, we are releasing the results of a stunning investigation by the Department of Homeland Security. According to the DHS review, state voter rolls and public records, they identified approximately 278,000 non-citizens who are registered to vote in federal elections. Since Democrat states refuse to share their voter
That's
files,
bullshit.
the real number is actually much higher than that. Yet, even this limited analysis
Prove
found
it.
more than 250,000 foreigners illegally registered to vote. Put together, these disclosures reveal an election system so broken and so vulnerable that no one can possibly defend it. It is not defensible. Hundreds of millions of U.S. voter files are in the hands of foreign governments. Our machines and ballot counting systems are exposed to hacking and manipulation and corruption. China and other countries have been trying to meddle in our elections. Evidence of fraud has been buried. Hundreds of thousands of non-citizens and dead people are listed.
Here we go
and
again,
active
the dead
on
people
the
voting.
voter rolls. And yet we still have elections with no voter ID, no proof of citizenship, and tens of millions of ballots floating aimlessly through the mail. As one example of the insanity, California's recent election for mayor of LA and governor was held on June 2nd, a long time ago, but it was just completed a few days ago on July 10th.
Yeah,
Think
but
of that,
those
much more than 1 month.
ballots were
Took a month
dated
to count the votes. I wonder what they would do.
correctly. That's all that really
This
matters.
is worse than
They still have to
any
count them.
third world country. There's no third world country that has elections like we have. In a rare move, NBC and ABC Fake News have both said that they would not cover this speech. They knew what it was about because of the fact that they don't like the topic, because they know how corrupt our system is and they don't want to reveal it. They and others in the media are part of a plot.
There you
They
go. Here
want
he
to
goes,
continue
Dave.
this fraud for whatever
got it.
reason. They
This is
want
gonna be
keep
interesting.
it going. They want to protect the radical
It's
left.
scary.
They can't have a great country, and that's true. You can't have a great country without free and fair elections. Fraud like this should mean a revocation of their licenses. They use our public multi-billion
freedom of
dollar in
press.
value airways for
He's
absolutely
not
no
gonna- none of this
money.
is
They pay
accurate.
nothing. All we want is honesty in our elections and honesty in reporting. They pay nothing for multi-billion dollar assets. Great damage has been done to our country.
He hasn't really gone off script
Our
yet.
elections were
just reading
left
teleprompter.
vulnerable
He won't
to
tonight.
being rigged and stolen, and the trust of the American people
He couldn't
was
write
lost.
this shit.
This cannot be allowed to continue.
That's
Every
not
American,
unusual.
You know,
whether you're
he has
a
to.
Republican,
He came to his own underwear.
Democrat,
I'm
independent,
sure
or
Walton Alda
otherwise,
is the one doing
should
that.
be able to agree that we deserve the most secure, honest, and fair election system anywhere in the world. Secure elections should be a partisan, really, we should be together.
Should not be
Democrats,
partisan, you
Republicans,
asshole.
Independents, everybody.
It should be partisan.
And it
That's
should
what he
not
said.
be a partisan
You
issue.
can't even read,
It should
Trump.
cause to unite us.
He can't
not
keep
to
up with the
divide us.
teleprompter.
This should be a cause. We should be united, not divided. In light of the brand new and irrefutable information
Irrefutable.
I have revealed tonight, my administration is in the process of notifying
Sub.
the states whose election data was compromised by the People's Republic of China and many others. We will be working closely to mitigate any harm, and we're taking swift action to ensure that sensitive voter data is better protected so we can never be bought, we can never be hacked, and we can never watch a stolen election
Here we go.
again. Tomorrow, the Secretary of Homeland Security will hold a briefing to outline his department's recent work confirming cyber vulnerabilities in our electronic voting systems. They are bad. We're in the process of informing governors, senators, and members of Congress of potential issues in their states. If you look at voting today, it's in such bad shape in so many states, and we are committing to fix it. And we're also committing to be working with
Committing
those
to
states and local
put the fix
jurisdictions
in.
to help them fix and patch known technical vulnerabilities before the midterm elections. We have very important elections coming up.
Here we go, Dave.
We want those elections to be honest. I've also ordered DHS to notify every state about non-citizens on their voter rolls and direct them to remove all ineligible voters from the lists
Just going to take
immediately.
people off. Anything with the
But
D,
most
they're going to take them
importantly,
off.
addressing this crisis of election security demands that Congress must pass the Save America Act. How easy is that to do unless you want to cheat? The only reason you wouldn't do it is you want to cheat because your policies are so bad and your candidates are so pathetic that you can't get away or can't get elected any other way. This landmark bill requires that all voters must show photo voter ID. How simple is that? Could I have your photo, please? Photo, voter ID. All voters must provide proof of citizenship. Are you a citizen of our country, please? And hopefully there will be no corrupt mail-in ballots, which if you watched California and so many other places, mail-in ballots are inherently corrupt. So you would
Hey,
have
asshole, you
no
mailed yours
mail-in
in.
ballots
Right.
except for illness, disability, military deployment, or travel if you're going away on business or vacation. These reforms are urgently needed to
He is
stop
an asshole.
the
We know that.
vulnerabilities that I've mentioned. To all Americans, I ask you to pick up your phone tomorrow, call your representatives in the House and Senate, and demand that they pass the Save America Act without delay. Together we will restore faith and confidence in our country, and we will be bigger, better, and stronger than ever before. Thank you. God bless you. God bless our great military. And God bless America. Thank you very much.
And fuck you, Mr. Trump.
Now, he didn't say anything about.
Let's pick it up.
Yeah, it's he didn't say anything about Iran or anything like that. Let me just see. I'm going to close this part out here.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're
All
able
right,
to
so
speak. And
what do we
folks,
get?
please chime in with the.
Yeah. with the
This
question.
isn't really even
What-
funny, to be honest with you, Dave. This is
No,
it's
actually,
frightening.
it's very frightening. What that was, quite simply, is Trump's move, first official move to shut down elections.
right,
That's where it's headed. There's no question about that.
or make them completely illegitimate.
Well, either way, yeah.
Right, either
I
way
mean,
is
that's
true.
true too. Now, anyone out there in America tonight who believes that motherfucker is absolutely insane. Okay, he's insane. So if you're believing what he says, you're believing something an insane man is telling you. What was interesting is what he hit. Of course, it's his things were journalism because he doesn't want a free press, obviously.
Right.
He attacked. Now I don't know, and I'm sitting here. Maybe somebody else knows. He attacked NBC and ABC specifically.
But those are the two. At least we got in the chat room. I forget who said it, but
Well, Kim said. I mean, Kim said that it was on ABC there. So who even knows if that's true? What he wants, of course, is clear. I think the first thing he wants to do is be president for life. And the reason for that is as long as he is president, he will not be arrested.
right.
Okay. The Supreme Court gave him really the freedom of kings, almost handed it to him.
Exactly.
No criminal actions. The man does criminal actions from when he gets up until when he goes to bed. I don't know when he's shitting his pants, if indeed he might have to stop to do that. But other than that, it's a criminal enterprise. There's no question about it. He uses the words very hard, committed. The only thing he should be committed, he said these crimes are committed, is he should be committed
Right.
to I have no problem with that. Now, let's look at some of the problems right now that he did not address tonight. He did not address anything about the fact that today, Dave Price and Judy Price, two people, went to the grocery store and bought only things on sale and spent $160. Okay? He did not address anything about Iran, where he has messed it up so badly that the only recourse may be the most hard of all, and that is a world war. That's not, that's
Dave,
not.
if I can
false
ask you
screaming.
about that, do you think that this has come up on other people's shows, that Trump, by his nature, the taco, he's not a guy who would fight. He always talks about fighting, but he doesn't want to fight in the war.
No.
So it doesn't sound like it's somebody
Right.
he really wanted. It sounds like there's the people behind him are the ones that are really pushing this thing, and they don't know where to go with it.
You said earlier, Brian, which was very astute. He did not write that speech. Of course, he didn't
No,
write that speech.
there's no way.
It was almost articulate, which is impossible for him to do. It was, his 5 points, but basically, what I heard him say was that China had the ability to mess with our elections.
And
That
he only
does not
spoke
surprise
about those things that benefited Democrats. He didn't mention anything
Right.
about the opposite,
Right.
right?
Well, true. I'm, if China did try to get rid of him, I'm all for that. China's risen in my estimation. Our son is headed there in a few weeks. I'll tell him to take some presents over there, and if they're really that way. No, he is positioning himself to be the savior of elections that don't need saving unless they need saving from him.
Right.
Okay. He didn't address, which I think is interesting. He didn't mention, his good friend Lindsey Graham. He of the now pretty much acknowledged red panties concern. And there's a lot of reports down here, Brian. Again, we might as well just pass them along because nobody knows what's true. It makes sense. If you remember, Graham was kind of, anti-Trump initially.
Right. He certainly was.
Yeah.
And he was very positive toward
the
Biden, earlier in his.
and the
Not too long
belief
ago.
is that Trump or Trump's, lackeys had the same information that's being reported now, and basically probably went in to Lindsey and said, "Look, we'll bring this shit out if you don't," and that would not surprise me at all.
Well,
And
it's all leverage,
and
so
he-
why wouldn't it be that? You know what I mean? That's where they could get him.
And the man has, he's into something that I can't even describe. It's not immoral. It's beyond that. It's not amoral. It's beyond that. It's certainly not moral. He just does not have the ability to tell the truth. So, again, I'm speaking now to people who probably aren't ever going to hear this, but if you believe that man, there's something wrong with you. That's it. Now,
Well,
maybe,
but that is the greater problem where people are prone to, and this happens on the far left too, but they're prone to conspiracy, and it just it's just a horrible thing, and it's sickening. It's anywhere from like this to the Illuminati. It never ends. It's just human nature for some people.
Well, and you're right, Bri. I think, again, notice the things he didn't address. His failed state convention, state fair.
None of his
kind thing,
failures, right? The reflecting pool he didn't even bring up. He could have
No,
said,
and-
"Oh well, somebody did this," but everybody knows that's bullshit. So he would have, incriminated himself by saying it.
And again, I mean, I'm really grateful while all this is going on that I do live in D.C. Simply because I can go down there and see things. The other night, coming back from a very nice dinner, I forgot that Judy hadn't been by there. We went by the Department of Justice, and there is a giant Trump poster. I mean, a banner, not a poster, a whole banner hanging down. And of course, that made her almost throw up her dinner. He is just a horrible person. I spent a lot of time now at Flair, and I'll be talking more about it as the summer goes. And what Flair is, it's an organization that had set up a very, there was actually 5 tents on Union Station grounds and were removed by the National Park Service. And the National Park Service is not a bad organization. They obviously it was Trump that wanted them out. And, so they've regrouped in a smaller area, but sometimes when I hang out there, people come by and they, most are supportive because I think many, Americans who would almost travel to Washington, D.C., I almost say this with some certainty, liberals travel more than conservatives. And so, it's not surprising that many would be. Now, conservatives come. He didn't mention the 400 neo-Nazi Aryan white warriors who marched on July 4th. He just, it's.
Well, this was certainly a centered speech where he was going to focus on one thing, and this is obviously people were probably telling him, "You've got to stick to this one thing because this will prepare us for November."
And I say that again, Brian, because I think that's so important. What you just said.
This was they wanted to isolate the top. I'm going to paraphrase it. They're going to isolate the topic to one specific thing, and that is they cheated. We're going to stop it. So in other words, I was right about 2020. He went on this long discussion about the voting machines and how they're corrupt. But we know that there have been court cases that came with the machines, and they've checked the machines left and right. So we know he's bullshitting. But what's scary is, again, he isolated, which means they told him. I mean, he's certainly the type of guy, Dave, who would like to talk about some of the other things and just lie about those. He could say,
"Oh, yeah, absolutely.
We've knocked them all out in Iran, blah blah blah." But he stuck to this. He stuck specifically to voting, and he had to bring up China because they're probably the only thing. Because there probably were some Chinese influencers and bots, but that happens everywhere.
I don't think there's any question.
Right.
But to say...
But it was very loose. Nothing was very specific about it.
To say that journalists... And look, they're not blameless and all this. But really, if you look historically, there's been very little... what did he have? Pay for play? And he actually, journalists took all this money, right? Well, every journalist I know complains about not having enough money.
Yeah, thanks everyone for dropping in. This is something more for recording.
Yeah, this is something, this is what we want to do more of. So we're kind of winging it tonight. But, we'll get...
but this is an important show, though, wouldn't you agree, Dave? Because this is a scary moment here. Because this is a blueprint.
And sometimes you need time to reflect. But sometimes it's good to just say, and again, I always said this, no one knows for certain what anyone's motivation is. You just don't. Okay, you can know what they said, you can know what their actions were, but you really don't know. Trump kind of dispels that idea because you do know what his motive is. It's how does this benefit Donald Trump?
And how can we stop him, though? That's the thing. They've got control of all levels of government.
You and I have talked about this, not ad infinitum, but a lot. And I would say this. Again, I'm not trying to be a fearmonger.
We're going to come out to vote, but I don't even know my vote's going to count.
Well, I think, first of all, we have to be prepared to encounter opposition at the polls, right. whether it is intimidation operations. I don't know if you saw, Brian,
or challenging votes after the fact.
2 days ago, I think, they announced that the National Guard will be here in D.C. Through 2029, after the election. Now, they are not bad people, okay? I talk to them all the time, but they don't do anything good because there's no crime is down.
They weren't very good at Kent State, that's for sure.
Well, and that's a long time ago, but it's still relevant.
Right. It's very relevant.
It's very relevant.
It can get out of hand. You get the wrong National Guard.
Think about this. You're president of the United States, and you come out and you talk about something that really isn't on everyone's mind. I don't even think voter fraud would be in the top 10 concerns of the majority of Americans right now.
Any normal person.
Now, Trump will be able to take his people and move it up, because they'll listen to what he said or what he says. I'll be very interested tomorrow to hear the reaction from Republicans. If this was so rampant, how do they control the Senate? And if it was so rampant,
right, that's a good point.
How do they control the House? And if it was so rampant, how did Trump get back in?
Right.
I'm not going to accuse like Trump does, but I'm going to say something. I think based on one remark, but other things he's indicated, if there was tampering done to the machines, it was by not Elon Musk personally, but Musk's capability to rally people around him. And that would not surprise me. One of the things that I've talked to the people down here who know far more about the technology of voting than I do, they said it's really pretty hard to hack a voting machine. What they try to do is hack the results that come in after the fact, right?
Right.
Because they're still so what we do here in Arlington, Virginia, actually it's very nice. We vote in the apartment complex in which we live. So that makes it really nice. Vote in your pajamas. But we do a paper ballot that's then submitted into, like a machine that then records it and sends it over. So it would really be hard to hack that ballot, right? I mean, it would be almost virtually impossible. But what does become is when that's sent over, it's sent over electronically.
Veggies in Ontario, that's where they get their kind of ground zero for that.
Yeah, again, the whole world. I mean, Brian, you and I talk about this, and we're paying a price for it. I mean, every human being right now who has any lick of sanity, between you're looking around, you're saying, "Oh my God," if you have any sense, climate is. I mean,
how can we sustain? With Dave, I know this is a very general question, but I mean, you make a lot of good points, and this is again, it is scary with what he did tonight, because it's kind of warning us what's coming up.
Right.
Their plan, and as you've said, correctly so, that there's so many things going on. It seems like everything is, again, I don't want to sound pessimistic as usually I am.
Right.
This situation is untenable.
Well, I mean, yeah, it can't. Okay.
It can't continue like this.
No. Of course it can't. Now, I'm reading a book now that actually talks about. It's really interesting about dissent and when we had some things happen, but it's very accurate. Those of us who hang on or have hung on to the Constitution, that document was flawed already. Forget the fact that I've asked this a couple of times in right-wing or conservative talks that I've been into. I just asked, I said, would you please tell me anything else that we follow as we did in 1776? Music? No. Language? No. Medicine? No. I mean, think of all the scientific things that have happened. And we take this document because it's kind of, how's this? We all, and I did this too. Not we all, but many of us. Well, it's not perfect, but it's perfectible. I think Trump has proven that we need a new constitution. We need to abolish the Electoral College.
Absolutely.
How do you have, a president who didn't win the popular vote?
Well, Dave, isn't this kind of what I think Benjamin Franklin was alluding to? You have, you have a democracy if you can hold it.
And the other, and we think about the great George Washington, and we have to give him credit.
Right.
Okay, one, he certainly was the general in charge of winning the war. Two, he stepped away. But when I was working at the museum, we did some research there, and you know what? You know why he actually left? He was disgusted it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to stop. He wanted to get back to the farm because people were crucifying him in what then were newspapers and publishing, and and he kind of said, I've done my service, I'm out. So when there's false, and again, it comes down to, yes, was there slavery around the world? But you know what? We were a long time dropping it. England dropped it long before we did.
Right. Even Russia did.
Yeah. And,
that was, idea... serfdom, but it was still a form of slavery.
The other thing that he didn't address tonight that every American, I don't care, even if you would, want to kiss Trump, should be concerned about, and it's a minor thing, but it's just concerning, the fact of cutting back on national park areas. That's something that...
He's going to drill on these
Well, that's the thing. So... I guess what I'm trying to stutter out here, not because I'm stunned, but just because he makes you do this. What he did tonight is, Brian, just exactly what you said. I believe, he set up all the problems that didn't happen as possibilities, but more than that. That's why tomorrow I'll be really interested to go through the documents that he claimed. I mean, I don't know that I'll read every one. But again, his private
And
attorney,
of course, these could be specific FBI agents who are loyal to him too.
and that's the whole thing. You can't believe, you can't believe,
You have
can't
to
believe
be
what
able to interview these people,
and you can't believe what you see, right? Because AI is getting better, better, better.
Where were they when they had depositions? That's why they avoided the depositions in the first place.
Well,
with
you
Giuliani,
see that his personal attorney, he wants to run the Department of Justice. Wow. Anyway, he was asked by Ossoff, Senator Ossoff, and a couple others, who won the election in 2020, and he refused to say. Now that's a very simple question. It's either I believe,
but they've been all been answering it in the same exact way.
Well, and the idea is
so that means they're told to say that, Dave. I mean, it's obvious.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, anyone who believed that politicians from the president on down to the zoning board chairman in your local community, I mean, they're all prepped. It's standard. But I've seen some comments recently, and I think this is true. I don't know what we do, Brian. You've brought it up. But we have to do more. I don't even know exactly what that is. But I look at a country like Albania, granted smaller, okay, granted more geographically compact, and they come up and they have, almost 1 million people in the streets.
When you have no other recourse, you do take to the streets usually. I mean, that's what they did in Russia, basically.
And whether, at this point, and we don't know, I've said all along, my hope was always that the military would stand. But the problem becomes, at least that we know of, 11 generals have been dismissed. And they replaced them with, Trump people. So now...
and it's waiting for Michael Flynn to take Hegseth's job.
Well, and it would be hard, okay? Because soldiers often... They swore allegiance to the Constitution, but basically the commander-in-chief was just that, right? But we've never had anybody like Trump as the commander-in-chief. So,
and they may not know the Constitution. They swear to it, but they don't know. So
well, that's true too. I mean, and it would be hard.
And it's hard to do that,
Well, I mean, if I'm a soldier, I follow orders, right? I mean, it has to be.
It's like telling the mob, I'm not gonna to deal with the mob there. I'll just tell them no. Yeah, right.
Yeah. So again, some people say, "Oh my God, that's so terrible." It isn't. I want Trump dead. It's that simple. Okay. Now, the way I would prefer that he die is by natural causes or unnatural causes, not assassination. We will see now, though. Think about it, Brian. We will see just how powerful Iran's terrorist organizations are, because they made him public enemy number one. And again, they're talking their shit too, but they said that
I don't
really
think they're going to get to Trump. I mean,
no,
I don't want them to do that kind of shit. I mean, I don't like them.
Think about that. Think about it, though, Brian. On that one occasion in Butler, if that was an actual assassination attempt, the only thing that saved Donald Trump was the guy was rattled and a poor shot. And he didn't hit. I mean, not even talking about the ear. I'm just talking about he did not hit the target. If it were a real,
I was far away. Look, I'm not. I don't like assassinations. I do not promote endorse any of that. But I like you. I wish he were gone. I don't care how it happens. I think it's more likely that he'll die from some disease or some fall. And
again, we're hearing. It was called the Eisenhower Rule, and basically, psychiatrists agreed politically that unless they had a patient, and then they're it's confidential, that they would not analyze people, unless they actually knew. And of course, all that's off. Almost every reputable psychiatrist in the United States said there's something wrong with him mentally. We certainly can see there's something wrong with him physically.
It's almost as though he doesn't have like a prefrontal lobe, because it's like that's the place that you lose it if you have Alzheimer's or whatever. And I'm not saying he has Alzheimer's, but he doesn't have any type of reason. It's all come from back here, and
Well, I
it
don't
makes me
know.
very suspicious with him.
Well, obviously he's worse. Okay, we see that. I mean, but he was never good. I mean,
Right.
you know, to say that he was at the top of his class, and then at Penn, the leaked records show that out of I'm not sure if the number was 264, 246, whatever was in the Wharton school at that point, he was second from last.
Right.
I mean, his whole life has been an illusion that he perpetrates, and I put a lot of the blame on Roy Cohn. Roy Cohn is the central figure in two of the most hideous things that's happened in my lifetime.
And he defended himself right up until the end. He literally, and that's what Trump used to do. And Cohn, I posted something with Gore Vidal. He just defends himself till his death.
If you go back and look, and I would encourage everyone to do it, if you look, Roy Cohn had 6 rules for success. None of them are right. I mean, and at the top of the list is never, ever, ever apologize. So show me one time that Donald Trump has. He hasn't. He takes every one of those, and the corruption. I don't even get it. Not that I should be special and get it. I mean, it's a criminal enterprise. Right. The White House is a criminal enterprise. And it's not just Trump. His sons are benefiting.
His daughter.
Now, you talk about, the old, what was it? Einstein didn't say it, but it's credited to Einstein. Insanity is doing the same thing over and expecting a different result. But, that's kind of, and I guess you've seen who he has to repair the pool. The same company. Now, we know that was supposed to be a few million, and it turned into, 14 million in overrides. And, some of that money came back to Trump. I mean, you know that.
Right.
It's at best, it's beyond discouraging. What he did tonight, though, is he did alert us. We now know where he's headed. He's headed to disrupt. You said all along, you said it. He's headed to disrupt or not hold or challenge the midterm elections.
Right.
Now, to be honest, if you were given at birth a card that cost you nothing, that said you're an American, and with that you could vote, the problem becomes, though, that it's all charade. It's not about the documents.
Well, if that's the fucking case, then don't send me any type of mailings for jury duty, because if I'm not a citizen, I shouldn't have to report to jury duty.
Well,
but you're going to take my ass with just my fucking address.
Think about it. I'd ask everybody in America tonight to say, do you know where your birth certificate is? And do you know that it is a legal birth certificate?
Right, because you could have a copy or something like that.
When I retired, they would not accept my birth certificate because it wasn't embossed.
Mm-hmm. It was through, yes, and I had the same thing. You had to have it embossed.
And so, fortunately, I knew that I was born in Pennsylvania, Philadelphia Hospital, Harrisburg. So, it was an inconvenience. But for some people, you don't have that. The ones that really should be concerned are women, because under the Save, the Save Act, Save America Act, if your name is not the same as on your birth certificate, you can be denied voting. Now, the majority of women, I'm not saying they should, it's just the way that it worked, takes their husband's name.
Right.
My wife goes, her full name, she laughs, is Judy Lynn Snyder Price, Snyder being her maiden name. But unless you hyphenate it, that could disenfranchise every married woman whose name is different.
And I would say that where that would be challenged would be in certain counties, more liberal counties in blue states, because that's where he could be. He's not going to do it across the whole country with his people.
No. No.
He's going to isolate it to something like South Philly or West Philly, more like West
Well,
Philly.
it's really, I mean, it's pretty obvious.
And
He's
those
gonna
poor
target
people,
it.
they're going to lose. They're going to lose. Basically, they're going to lose their right to vote.
He's going to target areas where blacks vote. The man's a racist. I mean, there's no question about that. His father was a racist.
Because most of the poor aren't even going to have their birth certificate.
It just made me think, and I hadn't thought of that for years. I don't know if you remember, Brian. It was more than 15 years now, because I was still teaching in Bridgeton, and there was a report of an incendiary bomb. For those who don't live in Bridgeton, which is everybody who's listening today. Obviously, Bridgeton has its sections. It has its African American section, and this bomb was supposedly in a Hispanic area. So they started to remove everybody, which is smart, right? And they set up the high school as the grounds for temporary holding. And a group of us were walking, and then when we heard that, we came in to help. And some people said they didn't bring diapers, they didn't bring milk. They brought their papers. That was what they. I mean, so those that have it, but some don't. Now, what was the number? I want to get back to the one number because I really do want to check that. What? According to this documentation tomorrow, we're going to see 278,000 non-citizens voted.
And he said there may be more than that. He said.
Well, he said, yeah. Well, what he's trying to get at that was very simple. The blue states are doing what they should. They're not giving him the roles. There's nothing in the Constitution. In fact, if anything, local elections are supposed to be local, run by the state. So what he's trying to do is, again, cast aspersions on the California and the New York and try to force them. Now, everything that I've seen, I mean,
he didn't mention like anybody specifically by name. Like he didn't say Biden.
Well, you know what?
I guess he's worried about the legal issue.
He did say Biden at one
Biden administration or something. I don't know. Or
I said something, but of course, originally, and things do leak. Now I don't know if this was true or something that was rumored. He was going to attack Georgia in particular tonight.
He didn't do that
for
tonight,
Warnock.
yeah.
No, he didn't do it. Warnock and Ossoff. Now, both of them, are very articulate. Warnock is the closest thing, honestly, maybe we have to Martin Luther King in terms of his ability to articulate. Now, King was, never was a government, never was elected, and Ossoff is certainly a smart man. So maybe, back off just because, and we don't know. In fact, the White House used to, which of course it doesn't anymore. They used to release to the press the document, right? The text of the speech, but that's something they no longer do. So kind of to sum up here, at least on my end, what should we worry about? At the top of the list, of course, is, as you said, Brian, this was the opening shot officially of, I'll just use Trump's term, fucking up the election.
Right.
One. Two, as Americans, we should all be concerned because of the attacks on journalism. Not only do they violate, the First Amendment, but, they might not do the best job right now, but they're the only thing holding. They were always, the group that, they are not, they're not politically compromised. And so they, you have that.
And it also means when you have a free press, maybe it won't influence or be able to influence the vote per se, but it does have international ramifications because then the rest of the world will say, well, we don't want to negotiate with this guy.
Well,
a question
now
for Europe.
it is interesting. Also, so a third thing, it was China, one of those. Now, are they our friends? Are they our enemy? We have to wait and see that documentation tomorrow. But the problem is, I'm not going to, I hate to say this. No, I don't hate to say it. It's true. I don't believe the documentation, but at least
we'll be able. Even if it is, it's just, it didn't change the vote per se.
and he throws out the state that he singled out, Michigan,
Right.
he
Muskegon or
said,
whatever.
yeah, and he said, that was where he said the pay, play, and cheat. Of course, Michigan has Governor Whitmer,
Whitmer.
and she's been a pretty vocal critic of.
Yeah, and
Mr.
her life was threatened at one point.
Yeah, well, and through it all, I mean, it's related to the speech tonight, but through it all, Trump has no shame.
None.
He has no guilt. It's never his fault. It's if I were judging him solely on his articulation, that's one of the most articulate speeches he's held in a while. And you pointed out too, he stayed on the topic, and that's very unusual for him.
And he was just tonight. He was just reading the teleprompter. You could see his eyes kind of rolling.
And I wonder, and there's been a lot of questions. He may well be dyslexic. You don't know how severe.
Right.
But I mean, some of it is his attention span, because every memo must be. If Trump saw a staple, and people have said this, if he saw a staple or a paperclip, he didn't want to go over it. It had to be on one page. Now, just about everything the president deals with, it would take 3 to 5 pages minimally, to lay out the case. So China is messing with our elections, and I will leave with this thought. I'm not that worried about China. I'm more worried about the president of the United States.
Right, absolutely.
That whole thing, it's just until we get rid of him, however we do that, we are not a democracy. We should not sleep well at night because, we don't know. Iran, he's got us into what is. There's no good ending to that. Okay?
No, and he's gonna he can't go all the way, because then you have to put boots on the ground, and he doesn't want to look like he's losing. He doesn't mind he doesn't want to fight the fight, but he also doesn't want to look like he lost the war. So now he's stuck, and we're stuck.
But wouldn't you say right now that if you look at the world situation, gearing it only to Iran, they won?
At
this moment, they have everything they want, and the agreement which Obama, proposed and was accepted, was tolerable for both sides. What we have now is nothing, and that's usually what happens. We don't have a memorial pool. We don't have today. Well, I will break a piece of news here. Okay, this is news breaking. Everybody said. So, our son, which I mentioned before, his home base is Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and he was up here for 2 days. I said he had to straighten out something because he has a project in China. But when he went home, one in his neighborhood is a gentleman who is recognized as one of America's leading tree replacement. Old tree replacements, like if you need to replace, and he's up here in Washington this week because Trump is going to tear those the cherry blossoms down to build a golf course, and that's what he's up here for, to try to figure out how many of those trees he'll be able to save. So it doesn't matter if it's humans.
Real nice news.
It doesn't matter if it's a tree.
Course.
It doesn't matter, and here's what's really, and I didn't follow it enough. Now I've jumped on a little bit to do this. It was a golf course there, all right, another one that he wants to take over. So not the one that he wants to build, but the one he wants to take over, is one of the few golf courses in the country. It's a public golf course in the fact that anybody can go there. There's no membership, right? And he wants to take that one over. And then, of course, another thing that hasn't made it a lot, but is a lot, he is demanding that just as he got his name put on the Florida airport, he wants his name when RFK Stadium goes back up, which is, they are putting a new stadium there. Now, names can be taken off, right? But at what expense? I mean, it's just wow.
Dude,
If I keep coming to this all the time, and I kind of stumble, and usually I'm pretty articulate in this case. You couldn't write this. You couldn't believe it. You can't believe in the morning the situation has worsened since the day before.
absolutely.
Even if it's not new, it's dragged. Like I you would get arrested and it wouldn't be present. But I wish we could just go and tear down the drapery. It's not really drapery. It's that's blocking on the Kennedy Center. Where his name. It is removed. I was there. I got the look behind it, but nobody knows that because he won't even allow that to be seen. And of course, being Trump, I haven't been out there yet to see it, but they announced yesterday or the day before, I guess actually the day before, they now have portraits not only of Donald Trump in the Kennedy Center, but many of the cabinet members. So,
But actually, I know you're just laughing, but it's not, and it's not funny. It's so sick. It's so revolting. It's appalling. And as you said, like you couldn't imagine this happening. And
or you couldn't make it up. I mean, I could,
Right.
If you go back and read the dystopian things, the books, 1984, Brave New World, the whole list. The most accurate, or the one is, It Can't Happen Here by Sinclair Lewis, that had a revival when Trump came in. A lot of times, of course, they pick it up, in the middle of the story. Like in 1984, you're not there at the creation of it, right? But I think what surprised me more than anything else was how quickly we went. Yes, Dr. Strangelove was. Although the film that's probably the one that's most accurate right now is Idiocracy. There's parts of all of them, Wag the Dog, and there's some other things too. But I think what surprised me, Brian, more than anything, is how quickly America stopped being America. It didn't take long.
Right.
Now it gets worse daily, you could say, or at least that's hyperbole, but it does get worse every month, if not daily. But the fact that the guardrails didn't hold.
They did not.
They did not hold, or if they did, the federal courts are doing a fairly decent job. But once you get to the Supreme Court, it's probably at least Trump's winning at least 70%,
right?
If not more, the cases that come.
The ones that he really needs, he wins.
Well, I'm sure. And again, the report down here is Alito is getting ready to resign because he will resign before Trump leaves office because the deal will be that they will want to name the replacement. And while that's great, Alito is 114 years old and his replacement could be 40. Right. And that's another problem. You couldn't find. You could search the world over, and I don't think you'd find a worse black justice than Clarence Thomas. I mean,
he's appalling.
It sold his own people out. I mean, Uncle Tom is a minor kind of character compared to what.
Well, there are people like that in general everywhere. And,
I know that,
sickening.
but they're not 1/9 of the. And again, I would make the argument that the Supreme Court is more powerful than the president and is more powerful than Congress.
And we're going to find that out, too, even when Trump's gone.
Because what happens is a couple things. Number one, you realize that there's no appeal for a Supreme Court decision.
Right. There's no higher court.
You went to the highest court in the land, so that's it.
Maybe the court of public opinion, but that's
even there. Right. And what you have happen then is the only way that you can overturn a Supreme Court ruling is by making a new law, right? And right now, that's not going to happen because Republicans
they control everything, and I don't know what their excuses are too, because they control every fucking level.
But
and
people point that out. you know, in other words, if you say the government hasn't done anything, well, that means the Republicans haven't done anything, because that's who's in charge. I would defy. I mean, it'll be interesting, I think, too, to see. Well, when I say interesting, I shouldn't use that word anymore. But what kind of support Trump ginned up tonight? As I said, this issue, I don't think, is in the top 10 of people's minds. Now, can he drive it up to where it becomes with his followers, or do they just say, "Well, go ahead, Donald. Just go ahead"? And
A terrible night.
if and again, looking ahead, when this is said and done, and someday it will be said and done. Don't know what the outcome will be, but someday it will be said and done. I really, honestly, Brian, I don't want anything to do with the people who believed that Trump was good. What are you going to do with them? I mean, what? I don't, give them their own country.
Well, like
I don't
you've
care.
said in the past, you can meet in the center. That's the way politics worked and was acceptable because you didn't have to be
Right.
fighting. And so now you have like the Jan 6er and they're violent, and so this again, now a lot of people would say divided we stand. It's not a good thing because you're doing the very, very same thing that they're doing. No, we're not. We're just saying that this is kind of like a Hitler thing. Like you cannot live in a country and accept what's going on now.
No.
You have to separate.
And if you can't see the parallels to the worst times in the history of the world, whether it's the corruption of Rome all the way up to the horrors of the Holocaust and Hitler.
Yeah, and we don't know where this is going to go, too. We keep saying,
well, I mean,
worse every month. This can get really bad. People are capable of doing shit.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you've got the two things. You've got the MAGA armed wannabe military militia who can't even make ice, that kind of thing. But you also have the president of the United States. The president of the United States is an enemy of the people. He's the enemy of the American people. Again, China is not our friend. Russia is not our friend. Iran is not our friend. North Korea is not our friend. However, I believe they all pale in comparison to the damage that Donald Trump is doing on a daily basis.
All right. When we leave
So that's it for me tonight.
All right, folks. We have the time now to do this kind of thing, and we
thank you for joining, and
enough to go on.
Thank you. If you see it later, and actually, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things we're discussing, and Brian's getting kind of agreeable to it. I just got back from Italy, and of course went to Florence and saw the David statue, and of course David is naked. And I think that people would tune in, Brian, to stand there. If you would just stand there pretending to be David, but talking. I mean,
it would be my last show because I would be Trump would throw me in jail.
Well, I will say this, and we kind of joke about it. But first of all, if it gets down to our level, we've lost the country.
This is a great question.
Could. I'm not saying
it
I'm
could.
not saying it can't.
Because that's how they get you. Because in a certain sense, in law enforcement, if you go after the ones at the lowest level, you can kind of stop things. Well, now if they say, okay, well, let's just choose somebody, little pick Dave and Brian, and then that's it.
Well, you know what? Why I think that would. Trump wants the big package. He wants to bring down ABC. He wants to bring down NBC.
Right, but it's not just Trump though. It's these. Well, he's not smart enough, Dave, to pull this. And you agree with that? He's not smart enough to do it on his own. He's got to have some. Look what happened to him. I know we're going over here, but you remember a couple of days ago with what's going on in Iran? He said, "Okay, we're going to have a 20% fee on all the ships." And then all of a sudden, the next day, he changed it completely. Now, how would he change it? If he's the guy in control, how did that happen? Somebody had to tell him, look, you got to change this thing. I'm not saying there's one person in control there, but I'm saying they have enough. I mean, he may be really fucked up. And if
you really want to know who I think are the powers in the White House, would be Stephen Miller and the Heritage Foundation and their plan for 2025.
Some kind of money behind it.
Vaughn, who's their head guy. And what's interesting, Brian, and this, The Heritage Foundation really used to have a lot of talks, right?
Right.
And I didn't know about these, think tanks until I got down here. And I spent a lot of time going over there because it was just, kind of interesting to see what these wackadoodles would do.
Right.
And they don't have them anymore. Um, because not that they're afraid, there's no
They're not
reason.
chasing anything.
Exactly. There you are, Brian. That's exactly it. They have, Heritage Foundation has right now everything that it's wanted. Everything that it's wanted. Or a road there. One of the things
They just have to
that
keep
they,
it.
you know, well, or Pete Hegseth, the pastor of his church, is on record as saying women are inferior and we should not let them vote. That's kind of from the Heritage Fest. They want to go back to all men are created equal, with the definition of men being white, land owning, wealthy. They'll drop the educated. They don't care about that right now. But
They won't like the atheists, I can tell
every
you that much.
every show, we'll devote some time to it. But lurking behind all of this, right? And think about Trump being in, is AI.
Right.
And that
Because
has the
he gets
ability-
control of
we've
that.
added-
Then we're
yeah.
that's my
We've
biggest
had,
fear of him, actually,
right?
is the AI.
I mean, we have nuclear. We have three definite threats that to human existence that we know now. I don't know. It depends on what day rank them. But we have climate change, which is changing. I don't know what it was today in Bridgeton, New Jersey, or where anybody else is.
Oh, it's
Here, the heat
right now.
index-
It's oppressive. It is. It feels like it's 90
Well,
degrees,
the heat-
no air.
The hind, yep. The heat index here today was 110. So we've got that. We've got, of course, the one that's been here since the 40s, nuclear war. And if you think about it, there used to be kind of the idea. I mean, nobody. I feel that there's more chance of countries using nukes today than there's ever been. Whether it's a dirty bomb by a terrorist group, so you've added that threat. Then you have, with Trump dismantling and RFK dismantling, we have the idea of some kind of pandemic far worse than COVID, and there's no defense from that. If somebody gets on a plane, it could be the United States to Africa, or where things are going to do that way. And now we've added the fourth, which is AI. So if we make it through, peeps, it's going to take a little bit of luck. And the hard part is knowing all that, continue doing whatever it is that you feel you can do. There's a little group there in Bridgeton, young lady. Well, I'm going to call them young. They're 3 or 4 years younger than I am for the most part. But, who are doing their part. And then you've got, Bridgeton this week has had ice again. There hasn't been a killing. But again, the President of the United States, 3 people killed on your watch. And all we know is your organization said, well, maybe we shouldn't rush after them in cars. And the President of the United States turned around and said, nope, I want you doing it. So anyway.
All right, Dave. We'll see everybody on Sunday or Saturday,
Yep.
or whatever happens. We'll get a hold of all of you. So thank you, everybody.
Yep. Thanks everyone who tuned in and sees it later. And just remember, tell your friends there's a chance that Brian will be portraying his version of Michelangelo's David statue
So be
before the summer ends.
is that called? Old fans, or what is it called? All fans or old fans? Where people, sell.
Oh, by the way, Brian, I
their-
got to ask you: did you get a job yet? You haven't had a job for
I got.
almost 2
This
weeks
is my
now.
job now. So all right, Dave. Have a
All right,
good
take
night,
care.
and we'll see you at the very least on Sunday. All right.
You got it.
Okay. See you, folks.